shining, and have England batting in this session if they can get these last 3 wickets. That is 314 for 7. Jameson's on 7, and Conway's on 179, looking to carry his bat to be the fourth debutant to do that in Test cricket history.
Yeah. If I've done my numbers right, the fourth to do it in Test cricket, but the first to do it in the first innings of those games.
Cool. There we are. Right, Tuffers, you're going to be joined by Dan.
Looking forward to it.
Hello, Tuffers.
Hello.
At last, we are united. The players are making their way out, I'm delighted to say, as we make our change.
Crikey, so he's got loads, so he could carry his bat, and that would be the first ever in the first innings. Yeah?
Yeah, of a debut, yes.
Wow,
yeah.
He's chalking them off. Left, right and centre, isn't he? But he's thoroughly deserved it.
Hasn't it been brilliant, though?
Yeah, this will be a couple of days to remember for the lad.
It will. It will. And Jeremy Coney said he'll get you, Dan. He'll get you at least once every 4.
Yes. What do we get?
Well, he'll get some runs. He'll put pressure on you once in every 4.
It's a good accent. It's very good.
Thank you. Had a bit of time to hone it this morning.
Yeah.
And he's done it once already, and he's potentially got another 3 goes at it. Andy, would you mind awfully just turning... Thank you very much. We've got a screen here that, for some reason, Andy thought that the crowd would rather see than us.
But the wind keeps blowing it off.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Well, this is a bit cooler today.
Yeah, and there is a breeze. We can see. I'm sorry, I've stopped doing it.
There's a breeze.
It's a breeze. The England flag is fluttering away to the left, and the New Zealand flag is doing much the same. And who's going to start up straight after lunch?
Robinson
it looks like Robinson, who's picked up 3 wickets, 1 today.
Nitbacker. So Nitbacker had gone home, didn't he?
Yes, he did that to Taylor, didn't he? So we're seeing a little bit of method.
So it's not, it's not an absolute road. It's roadish.
Like a bridle way.
Yes.
Right. Here is Robinson. First ball after lunch from the nursery end, and Conway gets one on the pads, which he tucks away. I don't think he gets any bat on it as Bracey moves to his right to collect, and leg by signalled. First run after lunch, 315 for 7. Let's have some scenario building here for England. 3 wickets in the hour, keep New Zealand to 360.
350, 360. England would be delighted.
They would be delighted.
Get batting.
For New Zealand, there's no real need to be urgent, but you fancy Kyle Jameson is a man who might like to take hold of the initiative.
He's a big lump. He's a whopper. He's a big one. I don't think he'll be propping and cocking. I think he'll be looking to play a few shots. I would if I was 6'7".
2 slips into him, a Ringfield on the offside and on the leg side as Robinson is in to the right-handed Jameson, who drives his first ball with some power and elegance up to Broad at mid-off, makes a half-stumbled stop. Can you tell me what's Kyle Jameson's strike rate in this rather nascent career? He's only had 6 innings, and I tell you, it says something about the dominance of New Zealand in recent times. He's played 6 Test matches. Mm-hmm. He's only batted 6 times.
Right.
They're not getting bowled out twice very often, are they, on that basis?
No, they bat deep, don't they? And they're just a good unit, and they look well drilled, don't they? They know the roles, they know what they've got to do.
Jameson's bending over that bat. It's a long way down as Robinson is in to him, and he pulls firmly through mid-wicket. It's going to run away towards the grandstand, and then just going to pick up a couple of runs. He didn't quite time it, but we saw him attempt to pull before lunch when he was only out there for about a quarter of an hour before lunch. He was quite aggressive in that time, wasn't he? So I think that's what we're going to get.
I don't think he'd have a short handle. No. Because you can have the bat can be as long as you like, can't it?
Oh, no, that's a very good question. The actual length of the bat as opposed to the width.
Yeah, the width is regular. It has to be regulated, but the length of it, I think you can have a longer bat.
I should know these things, shouldn't I? Robinson is in with 2 slips. He goes for a pull again, and Robinson's now on the ground. He's fallen over in his follow-through. It's become a thing for England bowlers. Started with Stephen Finn, then Mark Wood has taken it to entirely new levels, and now Ollie Robinson's joined in the fun. I mean, I said, is it a little bit awkward if you haven't... I mean, Ollie Robinson won't have played at Lord's a great deal, and he's bowling from the nursery end. We talk about this slope a lot of the time. Is it bowlers that get affected by it more, or...?
Not in the case of falling over.
Right.
In the case of sort of lines and natural lengths and lines where you just sort of you have to adjust to it slightly.
Here is Robinson bustling from side to side, and it's short ball that's pulled high in the air out to deep mid wicket, and it's taken. A
good
super
catch.
diving catch. That is a wonderful piece of fielding out on the deep square leg boundary by Zach Crawley, and he's a very tall man himself. That's one of the tallest wickets you're going to see. And Carl Jameson caught by Zach Crawley, running in spectacularly, had a lot of ground to make, I'd say around 20, 25 yards, and then he's dived forward and taken it two-handed around about 3 or 4 inches off the ground. Jameson went for the pull, he didn't get hold of it, and 3 or 4 inches off the ground. It's a super running catch by Crawley, and Robinson has picked up his 4th wicket.
Yep.
As New Zealand succumb, they lose their 5th wicket of the day. They're 317 for 8. Jameson's gone for 9.
Yeah, and we said earlier, didn't we, that we think he's going to come out and play a few shots, and that was right. It was a bit of a warm-up sort of bumper. It was just dug in. Perhaps he almost done it for lack of pace. He was sort of through the shot and just managed to catch up with it, got a bit of a toe of the bat.
We haven't seen a lot of short balls from Robinson, so are we giving him credit there for sort of seeing that Jameson was going to go after whatever he bowled at him?
Yeah.
And he's
got the man back.
he's going to go for it. Exactly,
back, yeah.
Man back.
Yeah.
Maybe a brilliant piece of tactical thinking by Root and Robinson.
Yep. Yeah.
But it does mean that New Zealand have lost a wicket very early on after lunch.
Well, and Tim Southey coming in now, he'll play a few shots. He's not renowned for hanging around.
No, although disappointingly, I think his strike rate is actually annoyingly a fair bit lower.
Oh, is it?
Yes, I had a little look at this the other day. Because I remember Southey's having a go at it.
Yeah, it's everything. At everything he comes in at.
It feels like he goes for it, but I think, Andy?
He has a strike rate, Dan, in tests of 85.6.
Oh, does he?
So
Okay,
just
fair
over
enough.
5 and over.
Yeah.
The fastest in the history of the format.
Have I got him mixed up with Trent Bolt, perhaps?
Yeah, you might have done. Yes.
Yes.
Or Dominic Sibley, maybe.
Or Dominic Sibley. Robinson into Conway, the batter's crossed, and that's just come off the pad again and rolled down to long leg. And I think it's going to be another leg by. It is another leg by, the second leg by of the over. And that'll annoy Robinson because it means Conway keeps the strike at 317 for 8.
Well, and also, Mr. Devon Conway, who's batting magnificently, will just be thinking to himself, well, come on, lads, can someone just hang around with me here? I'm coming up to me 200 here.
Good question. Do you think he relies on Tim Southey's not necessarily well-known defensive technique, or do you think he has a little dart himself here?
Yeah, well, Neil Wagner can play as well, so perhaps
He can, yeah.
Yeah, he'll be thinking that when it might be worth Tim Southey giving it a bit of a dart and getting some quick runs and what have you, because that's the way he plays. But then Neil Wagner can hang around for him.
Ollie Robinson's getting some applause away down to our right here as he walks down to his mark at long leg, and Anderson is in. He's going to bowl the first over after lunch from the pavilion end, and his first ball's tucked away into the onside for a single. Conway clearly not looking to protect Southey as he's taken that run and moves to 180. It's 319 for 8. Tricky. I mean,
100
associated numbers.
Yep.
There'll be no more of them now as we've gone past 180. So I don't have to concern ourselves too much.
But England again, absolutely delighted. Soft wicket straight after the break just gets you up again, doesn't it? You come out, come on lads, we keep going, and then it's sort of handed to you a little bit on the plate from a loosener from Robinson, which is just spooned up into the air. Just gives you that extra little, momentum and incentive to keep going and finish this innings off.
Anderson's got 3 slips. He's bowling to Southey. Southey's first ball, and he beats him on the outside edge. It was a very tentative little push. Crease bound was Southey there. The ball didn't really move a great deal, but it just played down the wrong line. Now, if you heard another ripple of applause, it's because we have a left-hand, right-hand combination. So when Conway was facing, Ollie Robinson was away down to our right at long leg, and now with the right-hander he's moved across, and the spectators and the mound stand are giving him some generous applause for having taken his 4th wicket. Anderson is in, and Southey works this into the onside. It's too short, and there's an easy gimme of a single. And I'd like to have a quick chat about Anderson, because I think maybe Andy Zaltzman can confirm or deny this, but for the first test of the summer, he's not always at his and his most penetrating in the first innings, it seems to me. And he's currently England's most expensive bowler of the 4 main bowlers, taking out Root, which is very rare.
Very rare. And hasn't got a wicket.
He's got one.
Oh, was he?
He's got Williamson just after lunch yesterday.
Yeah.
But that was with not really a wicket-taking ball. As Conway turns a full ball to mid-wicket.
Well,
it's fielded by Lawrence.
Is it that sometimes, Rolls-Royce takes a bit of time just to warm up?
Crank the shaft.
Get the old oil just going through.
Yes, could be that, couldn't it? You were talking earlier, weren't you, in the green room about just, the cartilage and the muscles.
Well, yeah.
Getting it moving. Anderson in. Conway drives nicely through cover, just in front of square. He'll pick up a cup. Well, no, just the 1 run, actually. Sweeper runs round on that cover boundary. 1 more to the total. Conway 181, 321 for 8. There's 1 ball left in the over. Southey's on strike. Yes, I just wonder, do you think Anderson's length, though, I was thinking that single that he gave away to Southey was very un-Anderson-like, wasn't it? There's nobody on the leg side to save the single. He's just given him the easiest little push off the back of a length ball.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I think probably also he's sort of annoyed with himself early on, and then so goes, right, I'm not having this, and then gets himself back into gear a bit. I mean, it does take a bit of time to get into the season when you're 40 odd.
He's in again, wide outside the off stump. And there is no run, no shot offered. End of the over. He didn't make Southey play at that ball. 321 for 8. Conway 181. Southey 1. Andy Zaltzman.
Anderson, as you said, the most expensive. Still only going at 3 and over. 1 for 75 and 25. All 4 of England's seamers have bowled exactly 25 overs, Dan.
Oh, hooray. What a time to be alive.
The other 3 have gone for 64 runs each.
No.
No wickets. Robinson 4 wickets.
Are you okay? How are you feeling about this?
Take a screenshot.
Not quite sure what's a read in. I think it's a sign.
It is. Yes.
Don't know what it's a sign of, but it must be a sign.
If you've got any sign readers out there would like to let us know, get in touch at BBC TMS.
I mean, we're saying how flat it is. We're just, I'm just seeing the old scorecard there.
Robinson in to start a new over. Conway pulls him just in front of square, sort of off an under edge really, out to forward deep square leg. 1 more to the total. 322 for 8.
Second highest score is... What's the second highest score?
Nichols 61 and then Latham 23.
Yeah, so take out Conway's 100. I mean, I know that's sort of specious maths, but if you take out Conway's 182, not many New Zealanders have prospered against this attack. But he is. I mean, this is the thing. I remember when Rahul Dravid came to England, I want to say 2011, and he seemed to face half the balls that India batted. And so there was always this feeling that England was struggling to take wickets because one end was blocked. And that's what it's felt like a bit in this game. Here's Robinson into Southey, who gets tucked up a little bit by a ball that jags back onto his pads and it rolls out to Burns at point. There's no run. Here's a great opportunity for Robinson, who's taken 4 wickets. He's got Southey to bowl at, 2 more wickets to fall. Neil Wagner after this. And indeed, he may have his sights set on the honours board. 2 slips, point, extra cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wickets, deep backward square leg, and a long leg. That second slip's quite wide, actually, as Robinson's into Southey, who works this full ball nicely into the onside. With an economy of movement. He wanted 2. He definitely wants to keep strike, but he's only going to pick up 1 for it. And he moves to 2, 323 for 8. England have fought back very well. They've picked up 5 wickets today for Andy. Is it 39 runs now? Was it 284 when the 4th?
It was 288.
28, so for 35 runs.
Good effort.
5 for 35.
Great effort.
I mean, I remember sitting down at midday with Jeremy Coney, genuinely asking the question about when the declaration would come.
Yeah.
Not so much of that now. Robinson in, Conway defends slightly awkwardly on the front foot, pushes into the offside. Lawrence picks up. There's no run.
At one point during the morning session, 4 wickets fell for 6 runs in 8.5 overs.
Well, it was that parsimony, wasn't it? They kept it so tight.
Yeah. And that's why it's handy having someone like a Mark Wood in your side. Okay, didn't have the rubber to green perhaps yesterday, but when you have got someone in your side like him, you can just feed off it a little bit, can't you? All the guys get together, come on, quick, and bouncers and things like that. You can get the old juices flowing. and he was the main guy who sort of turned it round, didn't he, in that first session?
Robinson in, and Conway plays his late, pushes into the offside. They go through for a quick single, shy at the stumps, misses from Lawrence, but I think Southey would have been home either way. So there's only one more ball left in this over from Robinson. Southey will face it at 324 for 8. Conway 183. I sort of feel he deserves this double hundred so much.
That's very generous of you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not mine to give, unfortunately. If I could, I would.
Yes.
But it doesn't work like that.
No.
And they're not very attacking on Southey here, are they? There's still these two slips, a kind of ring field. There's a man out at deep point and a man at deep backward square leg.
Well, I think you've probably got more chance of catching him in the rings or sort of at deep square leg.
Robinson in, and that's full, and Southey covers up in defence and works it back up the wicket, picked up by Lawrence. End of the over. Decent one. Robinson 4 for 67, 324 for 8. Would there be a temptation? You've seen the number 10 come in.
Yes.
I think Mark would.
Well,
He's picked up 3 today.
Absolutely.
Go on.
Whistle a few past the ears. It just kind of gets you thinking as a tail ender, doesn't it? You know, and then the next one slightly up there swinging away. You kind of usually have a bit of a dart at it, don't you? Instead of, beautifully getting behind the line and leaving it. You sort of gets the blood pumping a bit.
I bet you must have been in that situation a few times.
Many times.
Yes.
Yeah.
No fun, I wouldn't have thought.
No, and you just think, well, I couldn't actually hit that one. I'm going to have a go at it.
Anderson starts a new over. Conway defends a back of a length ball onto a short mid wicket. Lawrence feels no one.
It's difficult to see the long game. It's difficult as a sort of 9, 10 and 11 and bowling at 95 miles an hour. You can't just see you getting over a tough period and coming back an hour later and then sort of perhaps being a bit more expansive. No, you just see, I think my time is up here. I may as well try and have a slog.
Anderson in to Conway, the left-handed Conway, who just dabs the ball down into the gully region, but he won't get a run for it, as Sibley feels. Do you at moments like that, Tuffers, do you sort of question the wisdom of your life choices when Curtly Ambrose is hurtling into you?
Well, my life choices have been kind of all right.
I mean, when you're batting.
When I'm batting.
Yes. I didn't mean in the more general round. No, I meant the choice of career.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Conway pushes to a full ball up to Broad at mid-off, and there's no run.
I did make sure my my affairs were in order when I toured the West Indies.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did. Yeah, make
Shout
sure
to the solicitor and all that.
Yes, make sure everything was up to date.
Crikey!
I know. It's funny what goes through the mind.
Graham Fowler tells an incredible story about being at the Oval in 1984 for the 5th and final Test match. As Anderson is in to Conway, who defends again, a foolish ball back up the wicket, no run. Graham Fowler was opening the batting for England in that series.
Yeah.
He tells a story about how when he was out for the final time, he went back into the changing room and he basically cried tears of relief.
What, against that West Indies side?
Yeah, that he'd made it through. So many of his colleagues have been injured, of course. People have broken arms and all manner of things. And he suddenly, he didn't realise it, but relief just came out of it. Phew. I'm still here.
Yep.
It was,
It's tough out there, mate.
Terrifying experience.
Yeah. And that's from someone who could bat.
Yeah, he got 100 at Lords in that series. Anderson is in. Conway again defends this very awkward way. He defends with a horizontal bat as if he's jabbing the ball into the ground, like sort of knocking the top of a boiled egg, and it just rolls back up the wicket, and there's no run. 324 for 8. The score remains. The field now comes in because there's only one ball remaining in Anderson's over. There's a slip, a gully, backward point extra, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, square leg and a long leg, trying to save the single here. Anderson round the wicket, bowls a full ball, pushed into the offside, straight to the fielder. Burns at cover, and a maiden over from Anderson. New Zealand 324 for 8, Southey 2, Conway 183. But crucially, it means that Southey will be on strike, and Robinson has got an opportunity here to bowl an over at him. I didn't think the field was quite right to Southey myself. I didn't like these. I didn't like the deep point.
Well, I have seen him get out in some peculiar positions, having a bit of a dart outside the off stump. Obviously, occasionally it goes to the slip, but I think sometimes you've got more chance of getting in the covers or a sort of backward point. Rory Burns at a backward point is usually a pretty good spot for him. He does give it the kitchen sink.
Here is Robinson starting an over from the nursery end into the right-handed Southey, and Southey drives expansively, loosely and flat-footedly up to Stuart Broad.
Yeah, he's in now.
Broad at mid-off.
He's in now. He's thinking to himself, right, I've had a couple of...
Shoulders loose.
Yeah, that's right. Getting a bit warm now.
Wet.
The sweat starts going. Come on, let's play a few shots. He's an entertaining batsman to watch, though, Tim Southey. Oh, yeah, I bet he would have got some... What's he averaging? I bet he's averaging 18, 20, isn't he?
Do you know?
Go on.
I've done as rarest of things. I've done some research.
No way.
17.24.
Yeah, so he's
got 1,690 runs. He's got 5 half-centuries.
There you go.
Robinson is in to him, and he drives in the air and is dropped by a sprawling Broad. Well, it was an awkward chance, but he should have got there. He moved slowly to it, running away to his right, went two-handed. I'm pretty sure he got a good piece of it, and he's dropped what would have been Ollie Robinson's 5th wicket.
And that's exactly what I was saying. You've got more chance in the ring to Tim Southey, especially when it's not jagging or seaming or swinging prodigiously, of him just skimming one and just a bad drop.
That's a poor drop,
it's a bad drop. Made the ground, got both hands to it, should have gobbled that up.
Did he make too much ground? Because in the end he almost sort of went past it. It's hit him on the base of the thumb. Robinson into Southey again, who clips this away annoyingly for Robinson through the gap on the onside in front of square for a single. And he gets off strike. That will infuriate the bowler because he had his man.
Yeah.
Just to describe the drop again, but Broad's at mid-off, and it was in the air for a good long time. It was not well timed at all by Southey, and Broad had about 2 or 3 steps to make to his right, and he sort of fell, and then it hit
Wrist.
the bottom of the wrist.
Yeah.
So you can tell he went, if anything, a bit too far. Why would that be? Was he anticipating it coming a bit quicker?
Yeah, he clothed it, didn't he? He got it right on the toe of the
Yeah.
bat. The bat swizzled round in the hands and it didn't come off at all, so it might have done him for pace.
Robinson was a full toss, a rare full toss, which is brilliantly fielded by Anderson, diving to his right. Like a cat pouncing on a mouse. Can't prevent a single, but he did prevent probably 3 more runs. I think that would have run away to the boundary for 4. He had to move 4 or 5 yards to his right. There is a tale of 2 opening bowlers contrasting fortunes at mid-off and mid-on. He was fully in the air, parallel with the ground. And I don't know if anybody's mentioned this to you, but he's 38, you know.
That's a great bit of fielding at this stage of the first innings. You're big quick.
Brilliant. It's brought Southey back onto strike, and he plays this very late full ball that just plays with an angle bat into the 3rd slip region where Crawley is there.
I'll tell you what that looked like now. I've seen it with that sort of David Attenborough. I think there's a fox that's in sort of like there's a fox that's in the snow, and he sort of hears the little mouse underneath the snow, and he sort of goes, "Hey!" boom, and then jumps up and bursts through the snow. That was that bit of fielding.
Well, that's one of many highlights, plenty of highlights today. You can see the wickets that have fallen now on the BBC Sport website. As Robinson is in. That was a bouncer, which Southey was a little trouble with. He sort of evades it, goes through the keeper, and there's no run. Just go to the cricket section and you'll see the clips as part of the text commentary with the marvellous Amy Lofthouse. And today at the test, with all of your favourite voices from TMS, but not your least favourite ones, is on at 7 p.m. Some more words from Phil Tufnell, and then it will be Simon Mann.
Yeah, that'll be disappointing for England there. Stuart will be kicking himself as well. He prides himself on his fielding and throwing himself around for his fellow seam bowlers. He knows how hard it is on flat pitches to get wickets, and that was a pretty straightforward catch at mid-off. Just seemed to misjudge it as Anderson comes in and Conway just knocks it through mid-wicket for a single.
I like you to keep your eye in, Tuff.
Would you stop doing that? You need to sharpen up your changeovers, Simon.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, Broad piece of fielding there. I mean, I think that was one of the things about Broad last summer. People think of me, Broad and Anderson, they must be like the same age. You know, he's 3.5 years older than me, but actually, compare those 2 pieces of fielding. Yeah. Anderson goes in and bowls, driven by Southey, putting bottom hand up towards mid-on, picked up by Broad, straightforward piece of fielding, no run.
Well, I'll tell you another one which Stuart dropped an absolute dolly was for Jimmy Anderson's 600th wicket, wasn't it? And then ran him out. But I mean, that was an absolute dolly, wasn't it? At mid-on against Pakistan.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
That was just, it was wonderful third 11 club cricket, that.
It's amazing.
That holds a little passage play. There were loads of, there were 3 drops in quick succession.
Yeah.
And then the drop on the run out.
Yeah.
And the poor running.
Yeah.
Now, what's going on here?
They're trying to squeeze the ball through the
hoop.
The hoop. The
It's
old
gone out of shape, is it?
Yeah, that has gone out of shape, like an egg.
Yeah, it's resting on the steel hoop. It's not going through, so presumably the fourth umpire will have to bring out a box of balls. Who is our fourth umpire for this game?
Not sure.
Mike Burns.
Oh, Mike Burns.
Okay, well, here he is. He makes his way over from the Warner stand area. The umpires must be changing over there
Oh, all right.
in these COVID times. Yeah. So anyway, ball change. Should have been 9 down.
Oh.
And Conway's still there. Well, he's got his eyes on a double 100. 15 away. He needs some support, obviously, from Southey and Neil Wagner to come in at number 11.
Decent number 11, Neil Wagner.
Yeah.
He can hang around.
He's quite a canny cricketer as well.
Yeah,
I saw him. in
He'll
that,
bowl well in this.
were you there, Tubbs? I can't remember if you were there or not. In that tight test match in Christchurch, England were pushing for victory on the last but one tour, and it was time was running out, and New Zealand were about 7 or 8 down, and Wagner was out. Well, it was something like an LBW or short leg catch. I can't quite remember what it was now, but he was given out, and he reviewed it.
Right.
With time ticking away.
Oh, right.
He knew he was out, but he did it to just waste a bit of time for the review, because the review takes up 3/4 of a minute or whatever minute. Anderson bowls this change delivery. Oh, it's a bit of hesitation as Southey pushed it into the offside. There was an easy single there in the end, and Lawrence came in. And despite the hesitation, they still got through easily. 330.
Now, Tim Southey is the kind of cricketer who can make you pay quite quickly here for that drop catch, and it would have undone all the good work that England have done up to lunch. If he goes now and sort of scores a quick 30, carving it and cutting it everywhere, and New Zealand get up 360, 370, England will be really frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good from Wagner. So he could have drilled it straight to mid-off and just
reviewed it, I suppose. I think he was had to be given out. Andy might dig out the scorecard from that match. Here's Anderson round the wicket and bowls, and Conway guides that down towards the gully area, but Lawrence comes from second slip to pick up, and there is no run.
Well, I did that once for Middlesex here, and I got
Crawley rather from second slip.
severely told off because we were hanging on for the draw, and there was about 6 or 7 minutes left, and then we lost a wicket, and I must admit it took me about 4.5 minutes to get to the middle. I was dropping my bat.
Should have been timed out.
Well, no, because I was out there. You see,
I see, down the leg side. To Conway. Conway tries to glance it, misses it. It's taken by Bracey. Second attempt, actually dropped it first time and picked it up.
I think they pulled a halt to the schmozzle as I sort of took guard and then asked for a drink.
Right. Okay.
You got to get on with it,
right.
Phil.
Yeah.
But I managed to hang on and survive. But a few little gamesmanshipy kind of things in there.
And not many would have thought to have done that. Probably what Wagner did there.
Just walk off, wouldn't you?
Yeah, given out. You knew you were out. Yeah. Here's Anderson bowling down the leg side, tickled away. He's lost his line there. It's going down towards fine leg. It's gone away for 4. Leg byes. So Conway does not go to 189, but not a great delivery from Anderson. 4 more to the total. 334 for 8. Jameson out since lunch, caught by Crawley, coming in from deep square off Robinson for 9. So Watling 1, de Grandhomme 0, Santner 0, Jameson 9. I mean, there is one aspect to this. New Zealand are here to prepare for a game in a couple of weeks' time, really. I mean, this is what it's all about. And they might, a few might be a bit rusty. Well,
is it?
Well, it is. This game is important to them. Of course, it's the Lord's Test match, but the games are about, as Robinson goes in and bowls a wide full delivery, which is driven by Southey up towards mid-off, and there's no run. Of course, it's an important Test match in its own right, but so the point is they haven't had a great deal of cricket in preparation for this Test match. They had a practice match among themselves down at Southampton, so it might be a few down there who are a bit rusty.
Oh, yeah, without doubt.
I mean, Watling, de Grandhomme, Santner. how much cricket have they had? Southey on 6. 2 slips in. It's almost a first and a third slip. It's got a big gap there between the first and second slip. Here's a good delivery from Robinson, who takes one past the outside edge of Southey's groping bat. And that did move away down the slope. And Southey comes down the pitch and prods it and thinks, mind bowling here a bit later, possibly.
Yes.
Well, I might be able to do that. That was a really good delivery.
Oh, yeah. Did go down the slope, as you say, pitch just on that back of a length as well, and really did leave it.
Yeah. I think that would have beaten just about every batsman, that. Anybody would have missed that, because it did go a long way. You played the line. And
the really good players might have got a nick on that.
Southey on 6 weights. In the sunshine for Robinson, who's on a fifer here. Southey dabs that into the offside, finds the gap, throwing down the hill. Burns is after it. Sliding stop from Burns, and they go through for a single. So Conway is on 185 here. It seems as Southey's had quite a lot of strikes since he came in, so we don't quite know what Conway's approach is going to be, whether it's worth playing a few shots because he doesn't totally trust what is at the other end, although Southey is a perfectly capable batsman, but also because he's thinking, well, am I going to be left stranded short of my double 100? So we'll see. He's played such a disciplined innings. Robinson goes in to bowl to him, and he comes stabbing forward and plays that towards Burns mid-wicket, and there is no run. 3:35 for 8. We've done the good work England either side of lunch. The last thing, as you were saying, they want here is to let it slip and then get another 30-40, and then suddenly 370, 380. But they're perfectly capable of doing so with these players who are here at the moment, and with Wagner to come supporting not Conway or Southey.
Yeah, it was just a momentum crusher, wasn't it, that drop?
Robinson is 28th over, 4 for 72, goes in, bowls to Conway, who opens the face, runs it away on the offside through backward point, and he walks to the non-striker's end and takes his 186th run. 186 out of 336. 336 for 8. What we're not seeing is when you push the field back for Conway. They are still trying to get him out. Often we get to this situation and looking to bowl at one player, and it doesn't often work, or it can go wrong. 336 for 8. Robinson goes in to bowl to Southey, and Southey plays that defensively towards straight mid-wicket, and there is no run. It's the end of the over. 336 for 8. Michael's here.
Good afternoon. Glorious again. Richard Kilbrick's just having a word here with Ollie Robinson.
Running on the pitch or no balls?
I think it was no balls. I think it was just as an umpire, should just probably speaking to him about his foot potentially getting a little bit close to that front line. What a glorious afternoon.
Yeah. Talking about some rain tomorrow, aren't they?
Well, I think it was Nick Miller, the weatherman, this morning. He was saying that there's a little bit of cloud around. Yeah, no ball. He was a good inch over that last one.
Oh, so it's been signalled right. Okay. Here's 337 for 8. This is Robinson going in to complete the over. It's full. It's driven by Southey. Back to the bowler, and Robinson hits the stumps, and it deflects down towards fine leg, and so Southey will get a single. It's one of those situations that the bowler who's going to bowl the next over might not mind too much in a way, because he's getting to bowl at Southey rather than Conway. Sick of
Tactical move.
Sick of the sight of Conway.
I mean, just look at the scorecard. You've got one New Zealand batter on. What's he gone on to now? 180. How many, Andy?
186.
186. So 338 minus 186. Take away the. How many extras have we had? 20. Is that 20? How many extras, Andy? 23?
It's 22.
22 extras.
23 now with that no ball.
Come on, Simon, do some maths.
It was 152 minus 23.
129.
129. So 129 from the remaining New Zealand batters.
Southey waits. Anderson goes into bowl to him, and Southey is caught behind. So in a way, it did work. The fact that Anderson got to bowl at Southey rather than Conway, that overthrow, At the end of the previous over, Anderson gets his second wicket. It's a first catch in Test cricket for James Bracey. And New Zealand are 9 down. Conway still there, 186 not out. And he'll have Wagner for company as he tries to get up towards that double 100.
Well, we'll find out quite soon whether this pitch is just doing it a little bit quicker today. Yesterday it was very slow and wasn't a great deal of movement. Just seems to have just zipped that a little bit quicker. Today it's either that England have bowled brilliantly or New Zealand have just batted poorly. You just get a sense that it's just nipping a little bit.
Yeah. Also as well, you could argue that New Zealand haven't had a great deal of cricket going into this match, whereas England they're right in the season. We've had 2 months of the cricket season already.
Well,
some of these bowlers, and Robinson, for example, Broad's had a lot of cricket, hasn't he? And Anderson's bowled a lot, and Wood.
We'll find out in a few hours, won't we?
Yeah, but England are all out for 180.
Well, it's possible. I mean, you're
it is.
Never quite sure. It's an inexperienced lineup. The likes of Wagner, Jameson, he's got a tremendous record in Test match cricket. He averages 13 with the ball. Tim Southey himself, he'll fancy bowling on this kind of wicket that's just doing a little bit. But from the position they were at the start of play, 246 for 3, I think we were all feeling 450, 500. So England have done tremendously well.
Yeah, it felt like 400 minimum, even if England had quite a good day. But I mean, this is relative riches for them. 3, 8 for 9.
Well, and also like the opening pair, Burns and Sid this morning, it was probably in the back of the mind thinking, I'm going to have one of them awkward 12 overs at the end of the day's play, or 15 overs, not a great deal to gain. Whereas now they'll have pretty much half the day to bat.
Sibley, of course, hasn't had much cricket with his broken finger. Talk about New Zealand not having much cricket coming into this Test match. So Neil Wagner is out there at number 11. Conway, the non-strikers, 186 not out. There are 5 balls left in the over. It's not an overly attacking field. There's 5 saving a single. Anderson bowls, and Wagner, does he play at that? Difficult to say. There's a bit of a flourish in his leave, if it was a leave, and it goes through to Bracey. A nice straightforward catch for his first dismissal in Test cricket. Just seeing the replay, it was actually a beautiful delivery from Anderson. It was angled in and left Wagner. He did play at it, and then there was the flourish.
It was nice for you to commentate on a Bristol Rovers fan taking his first catch, Simon.
Yeah, well, you can't have everything in life, can you?
Will you ever be slightly biased against James Bracey with the fact that he follows the other team in Bristol?
Here's Anderson moving into bowl to Wagner, and Wagner shovels this into the leg side, probably for 2 or possibly for 3, and that would get Conway back on strike. They've run 2 now. They were looking at 3, but the throw's on its way to the non-strikers, and it would have been a risk to come back for 3 there. So they settled for a couple. 340 for 9.
There was someone last week, I was down Bristol way, and they were telling me about James Bracey, that he's a die-hard lower league tragic, really. He knows everything about the lower leagues. You ask him a question,
he would do if he supported Bristol Rovers.
See, I'm just feeding you here, it's like half volleys.
Anderson round the wicket, bowls forced away by Wagner. That's a nice looking shot down the hill, down towards the tavern stand, and it's gone away for 4. It goes so quickly down there, and he found the gap and hit it firmly enough. So Wagner smartly onto 6.
Yeah, but I think from an England perspective, you don't mind seeing that. Number 11 come out and play a stroke like that. It should give England's top order plenty of confidence. Yeah, I'm led to believe that James Bracey is also a football referee.
Is he?
Yeah. Referees matches.
Anderson bowls to Wagner, and he goes past the outside edge with another beauty. So there's 2 beauties in the over, but also Wagner's taken him for 6 useful runs, and he's getting towards the end of the over now. But Conway on strike at the start of the next over on 186. 344 for 9. He's quite young to be a
24.
qualified referee, 24.
I don't know if he's qualified, but
right. He just likes refereeing games,
apparently,
does he?
he gets out there and gets the...
Get him to referee in League 2 next season then.
Sheffield Wednesday might be joining them that soon.
Anderson bowls outside the off stump. There's no stroke from Wagner. and it's through to Bracey. So a wicket for Anderson, a catch for Bracey, and it's 3:44 for 9, and Conway will be on strike on 186. I'm going to leave you, Michael. It's time for the umpire to come in.
Yeah, I was just looking to see whether Joe Root was going to give Ollie Robinson another over. He's on a 4-for. One away from getting on the honours board. And Stuart Broad's going to replace him, so he won't be given that chance. Stuart Broad obviously dropping that catch at mid-off of Tim Southey, which would have given Ollie Robinson that 5-for. The vice-captain's just had a word with the skipper and just said, come on, I need a wicket myself. He's 0 for 64 so far, Stuart Broad. Had to finish with 1 by his name.
Hasn't taken a wicket for a long time. If you add up his Indian...
68 overs, plus 1 over at the end of the last innings in which he did take a wicket. So 69 overs in total since he last struck. For England, only been going about 2 and over, or just over 2 and over in that time. But no wickets, having taken 32 in 162 overs over 5.5 tests before that.
Yes. Well, let's see if he can wrap it up. 344 for 9. England's day today, no doubt about that. But let's see how they fare from this moment on, and whether Conway can somehow get to his double 100. Wagner's no mug with the bat, but he is number 11 after all. Broad's on his way, and he's bowling to Conway with a slip and a gully. It's wide outside the off stump. The man back on the offside boundary. They haven't been tempted to push everyone back and so on, which you sometimes see at this stage.
Yeah, I think that's why New Zealand will be disappointed, because that tail end of New Zealand can all play. I mean, you've just seen Wagner play a glorious shot through the covers. Southey can bat, Jameson can bat, the Grandhomme, they all can hold about Santner. That was a soft dismissal.
Yeah.
To get blown away on this kind of surface has not been great from New Zealand.
Broad round the wicket, runs in and bowls, and he launches into a drive there, takes the single quite happily out towards deep point. Broad's got his hands on his hips, and now he's got the number 11 in his sights. 345 for 9.
It was a good shot, wasn't it, for 1?
Yep. Still hasn't he hasn't opened his shoulders, has he, with the tail around. He's just kept going really at his usual pace.
I like that. I think he's just got the mindset of just staying in his game plan. It's his little bubble that he's in. He just knows where he's looking to score. He may do now. He may try and expand a little bit, but he's almost like the Alistair Cook way, isn't it? Just keep going the same method.
2 slips. Wagner's waiting as Broad bowls to him. It's fully drives. Comes off a thick inside part of the bat. Broad's able to field there and to follow through, but again, it was a hostile looking shot from Wagner.
This remote controlled camera that I see just beyond the boundary, a little machine. Who monitors or who's controlling it, and where?
Well, there'll be a remote camera machine operative somewhere.
I think underneath, just above the scoreboard to our left. Do you think that's the room?
Well, they often to be found in gazebos, aren't they, around various cricket grounds?
But you'd have to be quite high up, wouldn't you? Because you have to see the machine.
It's very active. Let's get through some battery, I think. In goes Broad, bowls full. He's launched him over mid-off. That's a terrific shot. A 6. Well, I don't think Stuart would like that very much. Number 11's launched him over long off for 6. Wonderful shot. And Jimmy Anderson's got to come back and, get the ball, then throw it to his old mate. I'm not sure he'll say anything to him. What a fine shot. He's crouched a bit on the back leg, so collapsed his back leg a bit, got underneath it, and swung the bat.
That wouldn't have been a 6 last year.
No.
I mean, look how far the boundaries are.
Yeah, I don't know why they're in so short.
He does it quite a few 6s, Wagner, so that's his 26th in Test cricket since 74 4s, so over a quarter of his boundaries have been 6s.
What are you bowling now, Eggers? You going to bowl a slower ball, or what are you bowling?
Probably bowl an angry bouncer.
Are you bowling the same ball and hoping that he's expecting the bouncer?
Well, that's the bluff, isn't it? In goes Broad bowls, and it's a good length ball really, but stylishly played. And Anderson's chasing this down to the wide long off boundary now. They've taken 2. Anderson dives, scoops the ball back again. They go back for 3. That was an excellent shot. Broad's got his hands on his hips, and he thinks that Gary Sobers has come out to bat. Wonderful shot.
I love the way he plays his cricket.
Well, everything's aggressive, isn't it?
Yeah, he's fantastic. We'll see him bowl this afternoon, but with a batting hand in the field, just looks like he's the kind of cricketer. His mindset is purely, right, I've got to make something happen. Whether he's got the ball in hand, bat in hand, he's just trying to make things happen.
I was reading a lovely article by Tim Wigmore the other day about him bowling with his 2 broken toes. And I mean, there's something slightly bonkers about that, but he just kept having injections and just kept going. 2 broken toes. Broad bowls, and he tries to dab that away down to third man, probably for a single, but Conway can't get it away, so it'll be Wagner on strike, which for entertainment purposes I think suits us. He's 15 not out from 8 balls now, and from Stuart Broad's perspective that over didn't really go according to plan. Come on, hunting a wicket just to get you away from bowling at the number 11, you perhaps do search a bit.
But you look at his actual basics of batting. Wagner, he's got a nice little trigger movement, his alignment's excellent, his bat lift is pure, it's just nice and smooth. He's not a normal 11, is he?
No.
We like to see 11s that kind of walk out the bat and look like they've got the pads on the wrong way. And
oh yes, no, he's much better than that.
He's too good.
The Test average batting is respectable 14, and in the second last Test he played before this tour in December against West Indies, he made 66 not out off 42 balls, so we can give it a whack.
Well, this could be interesting because Wood's coming on. And it's a situation with Wagner from a fast bowler's perspective, as you know you're going to get it from him, so you might as well get in first.
Yeah.
So there are men scattering into the leg side, and I think Wagner can expect some chin music here.
And I think he'll take it on.
Yes, I rather hope so. There's a long leg, deep backward square leg. There's no short leg, which will be a Wagner-esque field. As Wood comes in, he bowls to him outside the off stump. Oh, it's a wonderful stroke. Off the back foot, through the covers, as stylish as you like. He's just got high on his toes, got on top of the bounce, and played that utterly immaculately. And Devon Conway's coming down and saying, well, have you been watching me bat or what?
Well, he's actually trying to have a conversation with him. He's not interested. He's in the zone.
Yeah.
He's just walking back, getting into his stance. It's a Brian Lara star shot.
Well, this is like the golfer who comes out and claims to be playing off 24.
Yeah, he's hustled well, hasn't he?
Yes, I mean, he's really got a handicap of about 8, I think. Here's Wood again, bowls to Wagner, a very high bouncer that he has a go at, but there's never really any prospect of him hitting that. No, I think he's known in the trade as a bit of a bandit.
He'll be up against the committee.
He will. He will.
Or with the secretary.
Wow.
Can we have a look at your proof of your handicap, sir?
He's played some wonderful shots. The crowd's buzzing.
Look who's down here. It's Phil Neal, ex-England manager.
Yep.
Now he's working with New Zealand.
He is. He's got his New Zealand shirt on again. Right, what's Wagner going to do now? Wood's on his way. And he's there and he bowls another bouncer, a great swipe outside the off stump. I mean, he was trying to drag that away rather more optimistically.
I reckon he's missed that by 2 metres.
Yeah, it was. He was trying to launch it into the grandstand, but he had a lot of work to get it over there. Now Conway's coming down for a conversation.
Well, if it's up, this is, I reckon, an attempted try from Wagner, if it's in that zone, to try and hit it into the pavilion.
So if you're Conway on 187, are you slightly panicking now at the way he's playing?
Well,
as far as his 200's concerned,
I feel that his 200's a long way off at this stage.
So do I. Out goes another man, out towards deep mid wicket. So there's 3 catching now. And Wagner, here we go, because of a fine third man. So this really is sort of Wagner music, really, as it were, chin music, because this is the feel that he might have when he's bowling. Here's Wood, bowls to him down the leg side, flicked away beautifully off his hip. And Robinson fields, just below us here, outside our open window. And he's got 1, so he moves to 20. Conway on 187. It does that 200 at the moment with the way Wagner's playing. Not that he's not playing well, but he's giving the bowler a bit of a chance for the shots that he's playing.
Yeah, they're keeping the same field. No, they're not. Fine. Third man's going to come to a 5th slip. So Joe Root himself's gone back to 1st slip. 3 fielders on the onside boundary. No, another one's moving.
Coming in. The danger is, isn't it, from the batsman's perspective, that if the number 11, albeit a good number 11 like this, actually feels that he's in, he's going to take a bit more of a chance, isn't he? Here comes Wood and bowls. Oh, that's really doubled him up. And Conway was trying to just nudge that away into the leg side, but must just have gripped a little bit and it's hit him rather awkwardly up on the thigh area.
How quick was that? That looked a quick delivery.
The speed gun's been a bit erratic in this match. You get some balls recorded and then not others. And that was a lively ball, it bounced.
Into the ball yesterday, 97.5.
Yes. How many to go? One ball to go. Come on, stay at this end. I want Wagner to be on strike. Much more entertaining. Here's Wood from the pavilion end, runs in and bowls, and Conway's got that. Oh, he's got it away for a single. Out to deep point.
He's on 188, Agus.
I know, but Wagner's he's the value for money at the moment. But anyway, Conway's 12 away from a double 100. He's got the number 11 playing immaculately at the other end, all sorts of shots. And he's got the strike.
He's also just gone ahead of Shikhar Dhawan into 7th place for the all-time highest scorers on Test debut in men's Test cricket. Incidentally, Mark Wood's previous spell, 3 for 15 and 7 overs, was the first time he's taken 3 wickets in a spell in a home Test.
Right. Of course, in St Lucia, he ran through him there. Oh, what a furious pace. And, that's a Test match which he came back, really. This is an odd situation. If you're bowling here, you might rather prefer to bowl to Conway than to Wagner, perhaps.
Well, I think with Conway, you're probably thinking you're not going to get smashed to too many parts of the ground, but you probably won't get him out.
Slip in a gully, quite fine. Broad comes in and bowls wide of the off stump, a tempter. Conway ignores it. Bracey collects that in front of Root at slip.
Well, whereas with Wagner, you probably sense that he might hit you, but you've got a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that ball swung again. And it's 40 overs old.
He's up there with the best number 11s, I think.
Yeah.
Name me a better number 11.
Well, we had to put our own Jack in there somewhere. Jack Leach.
Yeah, very good. Different style of player.
It's Broad, pitched up. Now he's got a single. Now Lawrence will feel that coming up from deep point. So, what's going to happen here?
Well, I guess Broad's backed at 11, isn't he?
Yeah.
Good times.
What's he going to do with this field? He launched him for 6 in the last over long off. Jimmy Anderson's passing on some thoughts there from mid-off. There's a second slip come in. I like that. I think a little bit of width of the ball swinging away, see if he has a bit of a swipe at it. What do you think?
Well, I'd just go slow ball, mid-on and mid-off, just gone a bit deeper.
Well, he's on 20, has batted very belligerently so far. Broad's fiddling with the field. And yeah, he's putting a man out at the deep point. Yeah, and cover's gone back a bit. Yes, I'm going for the wide full here. 361 for 9. Broad kicks up his heels, runs in and he bowls. And oh, what a beautiful ball. What an absolute cracking delivery that was. It was full and it swung away. And as my old coach Ken Higgs used to say, he opened it up like a can of beans.
And to get it going up the slope from around the wicket.
Where's that come from?
There's been a few deliveries today that we didn't see many of these kind of deliveries yesterday. Oh, he's itching now. I can look at him. He's whacking that ground down.
I've also
hard.
been thinking, wouldn't mind bowling in this.
Yeah.
If it's getting the ball to swing like that. Now we've got a potential collision with a seagull there that's flapping and taking off. As Broad bowls another good ball. Didn't do quite what the last one did. But he has still beaten a more cautious-looking Wagner outside the off stump.
He actually played that very nicely. He played it late. It was just too good for him. Again, it seemed beauty.
Yeah. Well, it's really moving around. And Wagner, well, he played that like a batsman, really. Not the hostility of the previous over. 361 for 9. Broad polishes the ball, grips it between his fingers on his right hand, now arms pumping. Off he goes now and bowls down the leg side. Wagner can't get anything on that. Bracey tumbles and collects it.
We've got one ball remaining.
Yeah. Conway's coming down for a conversation.
So Rory Burns, I've just seen him on the screen here with the bun.
Yeah.
He's got his hair in a little bit of a bun at the back. Does his hair, with the helmet on, does it just come out like the Grand Homme? Does it? The mullet is on show.
We'll have to wait and see. I think the Grand Homme was just trying to intimidate him, don't you?
Yeah.
Mine's
There's not
bigger
many
than yours.
mullets have opened the batting for
No.
Ned Larkins.
Yeah, he had a good one. In goes Broad, last ball of the over. Bowles and Wagner's flicked that away out into the leg side, and he's got 4 for it. He's timed that beautifully. And Broad looks furious. He drifted onto the leg stump, and Wagner's picked that off like any top order batsman might do. 24 from 16 balls. Conway's on strike on 189. Not out. Broad was furious with that.
Conway's innings, the 4th highest by a New Zealander against England, the 2nd highest by a New Zealander in England. The only highest score for New Zealand in this country was on this ground in 1949. Martin Donnelly scored 206, left-handed batsman who also played rugby union for England.
A famous New Zealand name. So Glenn Turner didn't score a double here then? No. 365 for 9. Conway's on strike. Wood moves in and bowls to him. And glorious stroke for 4. Touch the David Gowers about that. Full, just wide of the off stump, and barely any movement at all.
Just grabbing a bit back here, New Zealand, aren't they? They've had such a good day, England. And then this partnership's just created a bit of momentum back towards New Zealand.
Love that shot. The weight. It was just the weight going forward, wasn't it? Rather than the foot moving itself. So it really was a Gower, that.
Yep. Yeah, minimal foot movement.
Yeah,
so
but
just a little bit of transfer of weight. And
that weight going forward. Beautiful shot.
Yeah.
Wood again, round the wicket, bowls to him. He's got that away down to long leg. And Robinson will keep them down to a single here.
He's 194.
What's the tempter now? I mean, this is where it does start to get a bit...
Will Wagner actually start thinking, OK, I actually just need to play for my partner here to try and get him to the double? Or is he good he's got that car that's just got no gears but 6?
Well, I think we'll find out soon enough. They're setting this field again that's going to wind him up. It's a deep first slip, really, as you'd call this. Fine leg, long leg, and as a man goes out to deep mid wicket, I don't think this is going to be pitched up. Root has gone to a gully, and Wood's coming round the wicket to Wagner. Up he comes now, bowls to it, it's short, hits him. Is he trying to pull that away into the leg side? They have taken one, though, as Brace's throw hits the stumps. So that brings Conway down on strike. And let's not forget, he got to his 100 in the most flamboyant way. In fact, it very nearly was a 6 to bring up his 100.
194 is one strike away.
He is.
Over mid-wicket.
One short ball possibly away, if he really got hold of it.
I fancy a smash for extra cover. I think he'll get one down that end for 6. I guess over mid-wickets is 6 option.
Wood's going to bowl round the wicket to him. There's a slip, a very fine gully. 2 men out catching on the leg side. Wood's on his way and he bowls to Conway. It's short. Just got a howl there from Wood. He tried to pull that, but got in no real position to do so. The ball flew through outside his off stump, almost flicking a glove or the edge of the bat as it did so, but not this time.
Again, that's quick.
It was quick. Fizzing through to Bracey.
Too quick for Conway.
Wood back at the end of his mark, as he always does. He runs on the turn. Conway's on 194. Wood's on his way and he bowls to him now. It's pitched up and Wood falls over there. He bowls himself off his feet. Wagner sets off. Rushes back into his ground again as Broad picks the ball up.
There's 1 ball to go. Wagner's come down for a conversation. He was desperate to try and get down the business end. Yeah, Mark Wood's similar to Wagner when they bowl. They both. We'll see a bit of that from Neil Wagner as the follow through ended up on the floor.
Yeah,
they give everything, don't they?
Yeah. Steve Finn's another one, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Did that quite a lot.
Well, he used to knock the bail, didn't he, as well?
Yes. 371 for 9. Here's the last ball of Woods over. He's tearing in and he bowls to Conway. It's short, he's pulled this. Man out in the deep. It's 6! It's 6! He's reached his double, 100 with a 6. It just popped over the boundary edge. We thought he might do it this way. What an innings. And Devon Conway has scored 200 at Lords in his first Test innings. And he's got there with a 6. And the crowd are all on their feet. He's showing his bat to his teammates. They can't all fit on the balcony, so some have spilled over into the members' area. Well, what a moment that is. In the sunshine. And he's breaking records as he does so. And Neil Wagner, who's given him interesting support, but he's got him there, comes down and gives him a touch of the gloves. It wasn't a controlled shot. You've got to be absolutely accurate about this. It was a top edge. And there were 2 men out there in the deep. When it's your day, it's your day.
Well, it's a special innings. You know, in the context of the game, to still be out there with the last man. And it's just been an exhibition, really, of how to go up and down the gears in a Test match style innings. You know, yesterday morning he came out and scored quite freely. In the afternoon, England bowled really well to him. They restricted him. Then the last session he went up in the gears again, and today he's just manoeuvred around. And then in the last 20 minutes he started to go again. It's been a great exhibition of how to bat at Test match level.
Well, Joe Root's coming on. This might get Wagner fired up a bit.
Lap slug over mid-wicket, I reckon.
Yeah, well, there's 3 men out on the leg side. There's also deep point. There is a slip. I mean, the great thing is for Wagner now is the pressure's off. 24 not out. In goes Root. Moves in, bowls to. He works out into the leg side. Thinks about a single, but he's sent back.
Well, he got him there, didn't he?
He did get in there. He's done his job.
Yeah.
And I think he's a man who likes to express himself. Root again. Strolls in. Round the wicket he goes. Bowls to Wagner. No, it's a very circumspect defensive stroke. All trickles away into the leg side. Maybe he's saying, don't worry, Devon, I'll get his 250. Root again, bowls. There's an arm ball, hits him on the pad. Lovely piece of bowling. Been given not out. I think it just got outside the line of the off stump. But there's a question whether or not he played a shot at that.
Yeah, I think it was a late shot. I think it was a ball that swung quite late.
It did swing too. Yeah. I mean, a real proper old-fashioned arm ball, that. I don't think he played a shot at that. There's Root again. It's tossed up, that's more like it. Bit of a heave into the leg side. The man at deep mid-wicket dives. Feels really well. That's Pope. In comes the throw. Root breaks the stumps. But it was the sort of second attempt, really. It was quite wide. And I think probably Conway might have made this. We'll see. But they're having a look. The third umpire's going to adjudicate this. The throw came in from the deep. It wasn't right over the bails.
Brilliant field.
It was.
He slid, and then as you see the slide, and then he gets the ball in the right hand and he released it. Yeah, he
had to have 2 goes. He missed first time.
Ooh.
I think he's just back. Is he? Oh, is he just out? He's out by a frame, maybe.
I think he.
If Root had hit the stumps first time, it was out. Second time.
Split screen with that.
It's on the line. I think it's out.
Yeah.
The line belongs to the field.
Just got to see the bail.
Oh, we've got a new zooming gadget here. It's quite exciting. Let's have a look. I think. Oh, he's on the line, isn't he?
Is there an element of the bat?
The bails are off.
Yeah, he wants to see.
That's about as tight as it comes. Rootler kicking himself for not hitting the stumps first time.
Hold it there.
I'm giving that out.
Rock back. 1 frame. 1 more frame. Okay, I could do with a split screen, please.
It's a real test of this. It is literally a 1 frame decision. He misses the first attempt.
Okay, let's freeze it when the bail. Rock back 1 more. Roll through. Okay.
When's the bail lifted?
More frame back, yeah.
There, it's lifted.
But bat is on the line.
It's out.
Okay, I've got no part of the bat behind the line, and I've got both spigots out of the grooves, so I'm going to have to go to big screen. And if you can load it out, please.
Well, it's a bizarre way for a man on 200 to be out in his first Test innings, but Devon Conway has run out for 200. And he's run out by 1 frame. Wonderful piece of fielding from Pope, but let's hear it for Devon Conway. 347 balls he faced, run out 200. And I don't know how many times that's happened in Test cricket, but I'm offering a bet of never. But we'll see. 200 run out. And New Zealand are all out for 378. And Conway raises his bat. Stuart Broad's giving him a big hand there as he walks past. Wonderful innings. And something of a recovery there too. How wrong am I?
You're entirely correct, Devon Conway. The first player to be run out, first man to be run out for exactly 200 in Test cricket's final figures. 347 balls, a 6 and 22 fours. The 7th player to make a double century on Test debut. The 2nd New Zealander to make a double century in a Test match in England. Only the 2nd opener to have a debut double 100 after Sri Lanka's Brendan Karupu. And a useful partnership for the final wicket of 40 in 5.5 overs.
Well, there we are. And you never know what's going to happen in this game, do you? He never looked like getting out. And then run out for 200.
We're going to get him another way.
It's a bizarre. No, I don't think I don't think they were, Jeremy. Well, I mean, that has been an absorbing day's cricket. I'm going to let you ruminate on that. And Isha's coming in here.
Yeah, well, it has. It's been a very interesting day, hasn't it? I mean, 246 for 3 at the start of the day. I think probably England would feel very happy, actually, to have dismissed New Zealand for 378. I can't do the math so quickly. I know it ends in 2 and probably 32, maybe 132. Would that be right?
Sorry, I missed the question.
I mean, obviously, you're absorbed. Would you 132 runs
yes,
for New Zealand
that is
today?
Correct, Jeremy,
okay,
sorry.
and 7 wickets. So that's very much kind of England's day, isn't it? I mean, I wonder whether it's. I think that the pitch has actually quickened up a little bit, if anything. I don't know whether that's a bit of the breeze with changing the angle, and the pitch has dried out a little bit, and there's a bit more pace and a wee bit. The nip is still there. And whether New Zealand can take advantage of that, I don't know. But well done, England. Mark Wood started it all off, didn't he? And I think from about the middle order onwards, once Nichols was dismissed in a bit of a tangle, playing a hook shot to Woods, you know, England looked pretty much in control. Feel a little bit for Robinson that he didn't get 5. He ended up with 4, and probably you'd have to say Robinson with 4 and Mark Wood with 3. You'd probably say that picking 4 seamers has actually been quite a reasonable decision, hasn't it? Would Leach have got 3 or 4 wickets in the first innings of this match? You know, probably not. And so, you know, that's a little bit of a tick for the selections, I think, in a way. Broad has finished with none. Say something, Isha.
Good afternoon to you, Jeremy.
Hello.
378 that New Zealand have been bowled out for, having been in such a comfortable position. You mentioned England's day so far, absolutely, because New Zealand would have come to the ground hoping to get past 400, especially on this surface. It's looking very beige as the heavy roller is going across the top of it at the moment. New Zealand bowlers going through their drills. I'll just run through the scorecard for you. Tom Latham dismissed for 23, bowled Robinson, his first Test wicket yesterday. Devon Conway outstanding with 200. What a debut it was. I mean, you will not see a debut like that. Stunning debut at the home of cricket. Run out for 200. Carried his bat right until the end. And he'll very much enjoy the 10-minute turnover just to kind of relax. Maybe take in the surroundings, take in what he's just achieved. A special moment for him indeed. Kane Williamson out for 13 yesterday to Anderson. That was in the second session. A key breakthrough there, where 3 wickets fell in the session. Ross Taylor to go for 14. LBW to Ollie Robinson. That was his second of two in the day, sorry. As you mentioned, Henry Nicholls, the first to go today with that short ball from Wood, bowling a lot of full pitch deliveries, which he had to play, and then the sucker delivery, which Ollie Robinson caught down at fine leg for 61. And that was an important partnership breaker. That was when the score was on 288, 4 wickets down then. And New Zealand, they lost 6 wickets for 50. A bit of a procession for New Zealand before the partnership with Wagner at the end there. But BJ Watling out for 1, bowled by Wood, caught by Sibley. De Grandhomme out for a duck, LBW to Robinson. Mitch Santner caught Anderson, bowled Wood. A slightly fuller delivery after a couple of short ones. Bowled with lots of heart and pace this morning. Mark Wood just sparked the revival for England and just galvanised the team to come together after what was a difficult day yesterday. Carl Jameson, he hung around for a little bit, 21 deliveries before the short one from Ollie Robinson, 3 short ones in a row. He fell for the trap, pulled out into the deep. Excellent catch by Zach Crawley for 9. Tim Southey caught by Bracey, bowled Anderson, a tickle through to the keeper for 8. And Neil Wagner, while he wagged at the end, 25 of 21 deliveries for him, managed to get that score up to 378 and helped Conway get to the double century. He will be not out at the end of that innings. Ollie Robinson 4 for 75, Mark Wood 3 for 81, 2 wickets for Anderson, 83 from his 28 overs. And now it will be England's batsman who will walk out very, very shortly. Dom Sibley, not played a test match here, but Rory Burns has. Picked up a 50 against Australia 2 years ago. And the New Zealand players have gathered in front of the red brick pavilion. As you say, the pitch has quickened up. Definitely a lot more carry, so that will enthuse the likes of Southey and Jameson and Wagner.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the first talking point about, as far as New Zealand are concerned, is Conway. The second man to get 200 runs at Lord's. The first was a guy in 1949. You'd have been probably at school then, would you, Isha? I was probably at school, born in school uniform. Was a guy called Martin Donnelly, actually, another left-hander. Squib, they used to call him, in 1949, and he went to Oxford University. He used to clear, when he was playing for Oxford University, he used to clear the whole auditorium of all the lectures so they could go and watch Squib bat. I think he also may have played for England in rugby. I think that's right.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, I think that's right. So, really, all-round sportsman, but this was a terrific innings, wasn't it, by Conway on debut? I mean, that's me.
Serious
You couldn't get
composure.
closer to batting through the innings than a one-frame run-out. I mean, he's a quiet, humble guy. When I say, and he's composed, and he's not withdrawn. I think you'd have to make that point very, very quickly. He's happy to talk. He does quite a lot of talking actually out there on the pitch. He's got a very strong mindset. That's the thing he's been working on. Actually, I heard him on Sky on telly in New Zealand saying, I like to stay very positive. I don't like to be tentative about things. And I'd like to be in a looking to score state, he says. He thinks he makes better decisions and he feels that's therefore his strength. Well, we saw that really right throughout this innings, a long innings. But anyway, 378, he's been obviously the backbone of this innings, and he rendered the whole innings a vertebrate for New Zealand. It's now an interesting time because England are out in decent sun. New Zealand will like the fact that it's a new Duke's ball, which it behaves a little, let's put it, less predictably than the Kookaburra ball. And so their bowlers will have a chance. I wouldn't put Sibley and Burns at the height of my Test openers, I'd have to say. Not the prettiest batsman I have seen before, but, and I must say it's quite a strong but, probably in capitals, they have been effective. And that's why they're there. A county pair, and, both have got hundreds in Test cricket so far. Probably Sibley has more than that, I would guess. But New Zealand will feel they're in with a bit of a chance here, starting with three slips and a gully. And it looks like Southey to open up from the pavilion end. So he'll be an outswinger coming into the left-handers. Yep,
he'll use the slope to his advantage as well. He'll be bowling to Rory Burns, who scored a century recently against Middlesex at the Oval. A man who was under a bit of pressure. Now standing with an open stance. Here comes Tim Southey then, who bowls full wide of the off stump, allows that one to pass. Rory Burns. Tim Southey with over 300 Test wickets, the most experienced player in this bowling attack in the absence of Trent Boult. He'll miss his partner at the other end, who will be coming over for the Test Championship final, but he will very much want to lead. Third highest wicket taker for New Zealand, behind Richard Hadley and Daniel Vittori, and has picked up a 5 for here. He's on the honours board at Lord's. As he hustles in now past the umpire, bowling over the wicket to the left-handed Burns, who again steps forwards but allows the ball to go through to BJ Watling. Gorgeous conditions, as you say. A few clouds dotted around. Slightly cooler than it was yesterday. There's a gentle breeze blowing. And a nice hum in the ground as the ball gets tossed back to Southey. Shuffles forwards before running towards us. Burns sets up. Pulls the ball past mid-wicket. A short ball bowled by Southey out to the boundary. That's the first boundary for Burns and the first runs for England on the board. 4 for no loss.
Just set up from Southey, really. Hasn't got the pace that you need, as Wood does, that you can get away with using that part of the pitch. The bat's up nice and high for him, so he's up there ready to play a pull shot and a cut shot. So a good start for Burns. Southey needs to be closer up to the bat.
Bat hovering for Burns. Leaves that one through to the keeper. Yeah, you talk about these two, not necessarily the prettiest to watch. Burns, bat angled towards gully and then comes down the big arc. The way he lines up his left eye towards the bowler, so his neck almost cricks over to mid-wicket.
He's just watching that mid-wicket, isn't he? Don't you move, I'll notice it if you do. Don't you change your position.
I wonder how it affects him playing at Lord's with the slope. He's got an open stance at the moment. I wonder if he feels he has to overcompensate as he defends that ball to wideish mid-off, no run.
Has to go to a chiropractor before he plays at Lord's.
It is interesting. I mean, you almost can't take your eyes off him, can you, when you're watching him bat? So he has a look down the pitch, now setting up once more. Carefully places his left and right foot before crouching down. Left eye lined up before he's forward pressing, working it to mid-wicket. The half appeal there from Tim Southey, bowling it slightly fuller on the pads. He has been out LBW a few times.
I would think
that
would be the one target that Southey would look to go at first. It's that front pad where Burns tends to press forward in the line of the stumps and the ball. And if he can bring the ball back to beat the bat there, then he will be in with a chance of an LBW. Of course, the batsman will know that as well. Be trying to not fall over to the offside with the heavy head, if you like, and therefore lose his balance. Now it'll be, Jameson, very different bowler, same height as Joel Garner, 6'8". So a bowler who runs and and will get much more bounce because of that. He'll be bowling into the slope where the ball will stand up a little bit more, if anything. Shouldn't go down the slope so much as because he tends to angle it back in a bit from outside off stump.
Bowling into the breeze, the tall frame of Jameson approaches the crease to Sibley. Wide of the off stump through to the keeper. An easy leave for Sibley. He is a giant, isn't he? 6'8".
Well, when he walks past, is it Kettleborough or Gough he's beside there? I think that's Kettleborough, isn't it? I don't.
Yeah, it is,
yes.
at the nursery end.
I think Gough is just a little taller, isn't he? No, that's not Darren over there. No, that's a different Gough. He's the umpire, yes.
Yeah, Darren's probably similar height to Kettleborough as Jameson sets off again. Bowls back of a length outside off. Again, leaves that one. Dom Sibley just lining himself up, protecting his off stump. Got himself into a little bit of trouble with that last season, so then moved across ever so slightly, but then was getting out LBW. So I think he's just settled back on that middle stump as he turns to square leg. Now assessing the pitch once more. Jameson retrieves the ball from Kane Williamson, who's positioned himself at cover. There's no mid-off, no mid-on. A wide-ish mid-on, in fact, almost at a mid-wicket as Jameson bowls back of a length again, wide of the off-stump, down the slope to Watling. Another leave.
Well, you can see already the length that Jameson's starting at, which is probably too short. He needs to keep the ball up even though he's got that height. He can work into that. And there's no reason to think that he really needs a mid-off or a mid-on if he's going to be bowling that kind of length. It's not as if he should be driven off the front foot down the ground. So there you can afford to go just slightly wider.
3 slips in a gully in position. Sibley, open stance, back and across. Rising delivery off the pitch from the tall Jameson. Impressive record so far in Test cricket. 36 wickets at 13. Since his debut against India back in February 2020. And there was that story, wasn't there? He was over in India for the IPL playing with the Royal Challengers Bangalore. Virat Kohli asked him to bowl in the nets at him, and he said no, because he didn't want him to,
he said, no
to get
way,
a
mate.
look at him ahead of the championship final. Comes in on an angle. Flashes of orange from the soles of his shoes. As that, again, that's wide and short. Nowhere near playing that, Dom Sibley. Just an easy sighter for him. And as a new ball bowler, that's got to be frustrating, because you always talk about making the most of the new ball. A little spin of the bat for Sibley, who taps his bat down now. Angled towards second slip, crouches, back and across, leaves the ball slightly fuller. There's a bit more of a decision to make about whether to play it or not, but it's probably about 6 or 7 inches outside the off stump. So again,
did he have to play one there, that over? I don't think he had to. He could have left his bat behind.
Yep.
Yeah, just a little bit wide and a little bit short. If anything, there's been some movement away from the right-handed Sibley from Jameson. I haven't seen that quite so much before, whether that's the Duke's ball. If anything, he tends to get the ball to run back into a right-hander. Whether he can find he can do that. You can talk a bit much about the slope, I reckon, sometimes. I think if you didn't say a word about the slope, and if it wasn't there, I don't think bowlers would really think about it too much, you know.
Here comes Southey again from the pavilion end to Burns. Struck on the pad. He is adamant with this one. Didn't even really turn around, Tim Southey. Raises his arms and runs towards the stumps, but it's given not out by Michael Gough. So, what are the questions here? Where did it pitch? He wasn't looking to play a shot at all, Rory Burns. There's a quick chat with the captain. Walks back to the stumps, has a quick chat to Michael Gough. Tim Southey now raises his arms.
Oh, it was
height.
Yeah, it did come back. Just a little bit of bounce to hit above the pads, so it was a height decision, really. Not sure whether you want to be leaving those, to be really honest.
Yeah, good decision not to review.
just passing the stumps, about sort of 2 or 3 inches over the top.
That's Southey's bread and butter as he bowls wide of the off stump this time to Burns. And a convincing leave this time. Such a canny operator. He'll enjoy bowling with his Duke's ball, Tim Southey. Six for 50 and 10 in the match in 2013 here at Lord's.
He was expensive in 2016, 15, 16, wasn't he? I remember that.
Burns pushes this back to Southey. It's a little tickle on it with his left hand as it goes through to mid-on.
That's better though, isn't it? Just a sense of Burns falling with just a little bit. And I think that's what Southey likes the look of.
Taps his bat down a couple of times again. Burns sets himself up, head right round as he pushes forwards again. Inner part of the bat that heads on out to wideish mid-on. No run is taken.
It's looking better, I think, as far as Southey is concerned. He'll feel that that wasn't convincing, as you say, inner part of the bat, and the bat turning in the hand slightly as well as the body goes to the offside and down. It's always wanting you to take it that way, isn't it? I guess be easy to sort of fall that way. Maybe that's the idea of the head.
Very exaggerated as he drives back to Southey, picks it up with his right hand and Dom Sibley diving back into his crease.
Moving very quickly there.
Yeah, no run taken. Gives the ball a good shine, Tim Southey. How tall would Southey be?
That's the sort of crackling of fingers that's happening away to your right, I think, but probably 6 feet, I reckon 6'1" or 6'2".
Yep.
You wait and hear, it'll be 7'3".
Here he comes again. Back of the length on the off stump as Burns plays that to point. No run. Mitch Santner position there. End of the over. 4 for no loss.
Wikipedia, the fount of all truth,
Yeah.
as Tim Southey is 6
It's done me on many occasion, Andy, I have to say.
6'4". I was certainly
6'4".
in the past on Wikipedia listed as a bassoon player on a Boney M album, which I can confirm was not a fact. England's openers have both struggled in recent Test matches. They both scored 2 centuries and played some fine innings for England, but over the winter both struggled. In fact, Burns in his last 5 Tests, back to the start of the Pakistan series last summer, 78 runs, averaged 9.7 before this innings, and Sibley finished the India series with 5 consecutive single-figure scores as Jameson starts a new over from the nursery end.
Thank you, Andy. And his first ball clatters into the pads. This looks very close. He's given him. Yes, well, it looked very, very close indeed. And Sibley's going to have a quick word with Rory Burns. I don't know what Rory Burns is going to say. Could it have been going down leg side? It didn't look like it. It was very full.
I think it's straightened. Oh,
he's looking. He's having a look.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. I mean, it started the line began on leg stump, but then I think it just straightened a little, and it was quite full, wasn't it?
Very full.
The fullest ball that he's bowled. So, given on the field, so there's got to be a good reason to say no.
Here we go. Well, actually, that has straightened so much, it might be missing off stump.
It doesn't appear to be any bat there.
Has that hit outside the line, Jeremy?
Yes, it might be. It might have missed off stump.
It might be straightening so much.
Or has it hit his front pad? No.
Flat line, roll it all the way through to the pad, please.
Well,
has it hit twice?
Ball tracking when ready, please.
Impact, I think, might be umpire's call. Let's take a look. So, impact umpire's call.
See, has
my word, he's out. But I'll tell you,
that doesn't. Umpire's call. So
It doesn't tell the half of it, because
Just stay
it
with
was-
your original decision. You're on screen now.
It was a beautiful bit of bowling from Jameson. He got lovely shape. It was angling in, then it straightened.
And it squared him up.
Squared him up, hit his back pad on the knee, and the impact was umpire's call, and then it was swinging further away towards the slips, and the ball was shown to be shaving the outside of the off stump. It was a very tight decision. But I have to say, with the naked eye, it looked a lot more out than it did when we saw that replay. Andy?
Jameson continues his extraordinary start. 37 wickets now. Average, I think, it's just dropped below 13. But for Sibley, an unwanted little bit of statistical history. It's his 6th consecutive single-figure score. Only one other England opener has ever had 6 consecutive single-figure scores. That was Marcus Trescothick, fine player, in the middle of his career, 2003, 2004. He's only the 7th opener in the history of tests to have 6 consecutive single-figure scores.
Have you ever heard a
Look at the
man
two of you.
deliver?
Look at the two of you. I've never seen such delight at these new records that have been set.
Oh.
You just love this, don't you?
We do a little. I've never seen such bad news
you can't-
delivered with such glee.
No, yes, and warmth.
Yes. So Mr.
And
and Mrs.
salivating with
Sibley.
I have this to say to you, everybody.
I'm sorry
Yeah.
if for friends and relatives of Dom Sibley, that wasn't meant to sound
No.
quite like that. But it is a notable occasion, and it was a really good bit of bowling. And there's no great disgrace for Sibley missing that ball, actually, because
he's looking to play that to just behind square, isn't he, on the onside? So it's not a surprise that you miss that when you've only got the edge facing the bowler.
Yes, but credit to the bowler. He's a tall man, and he's got it very full, and he's got a bit of movement. But I tell you, it's very rare you see the ball being beaten the outside edge and being LBW. As Jameson is in with 3 slips, and it's Crawley who's facing, and he defends into the offside.
And that's an in-swinger this time from the tall man.
He's got them all, hasn't he, Jameson?
Yes,
I mean, look, if you see the ball tracking of that delivery that got rid of Sibley, it's almost perfect, really. It lands on off stump, it then goes past the outside edge to hit the knee roll, having squared Sibley up. It isn't the hardest thing to do, because he does tend to get a bit squared up, but then just to be shown to shave the off stump. He needed a bit of help from the umpire there, because he wouldn't have been overturned on review if it had been given not out. Jameson in, and that beats the outside edge of Crawley's bat. He may try to convince us all he was taking the bat inside the line, but I think he had a little nibble at it, and it's gone through to the keeper. Andy?
Jeremy, the first over,
Sorry,
6 balls.
sorry to interrupt, but we've had a no ball there. It comes through in our headset. We hear the no ball being called from the third umpire. Sorry, Andy?
The first over, 6 balls,
short,
wide outside off stump,
yes.
all left. First ball, the second over, right. Is that loosening up, or was that deliberate, do you think, from the bowler?
I think that's loosening up.
Right. Glad we cleared that up. 3 slips in a gully. As Jameson is in, that's well left by Crawley. That does this shape down the hill, if you will, into the gloves of Watling.
Yeah, but well, I don't know really. None of us do we? We're guessing.
He might be a kind of evil genius who's deliberately sort of lulling Sibley.
Bowlers are like
they
that.
are, yeah.
Prestidigitators, are they?
Well, you were one yourself, weren't you?
Not an opening bowler, no.
No, not an opening bowler, no. But in many ways, you had to be even more deceitful.
Only myself
bowling at
to
your
blame.
pace.
I was captain.
Further down, you know.
That's right.
Right,
yes. But I think that Jameson is just starting to hit his straps now, isn't he? The length is coming back to him.
He lopes in and bowls full again outside the off stump, well left by Crawley. And it's not another no ball, is it? No, I don't think so. Just slightly confusing arm movement from the umpire. But England are 5 for 1, having lost Sibley for a duck. LBW in this over to Jameson. Tall man. We'll mention that many times, but I've got to mention Colin de Grandhomme. Here at mid-on, number 77, big floppy sun hat. He looks, for all the world, I mean, he's a very fine cricketer, but he looks for all the world like he isn't a cricketer at the moment. He looks like he's sort of won a raffle with that hair. Reminiscent of Phil Brown, the photographer. Jameson is in, and that's squirted away off a thick outside edge, past the right hand of Gully, down towards the deep third or backward point boundary. Santner tidies up, and they'll pick up a couple of runs. 7 for 1, Crawley off the mark with that.
That's the length, though, isn't it? You'll notice there, even though it's relatively full for such a tall man, Crawley's playing back. He's not coming forward to that. That's the difficulty, I think, with such a tall bowler.
You don't want to get on that front foot.
Well, you feel you might, even the short of length deliveries can bounce on you a little bit, especially the new ball, especially the way that it's going down the hill with him bowling at the moment and the slip cordon coming into play. You don't want to be getting too far forward.
Here he is to complete his second over, and that's outside the off stump. Getting quite full, left alone by Crawley. It's a fuller length than many men of his height manage to pull off, because sometimes it can be a bit floaty, can't it, if you're sort of 6'8" and you're pushing to get it up there, but he's looked very threatening, and he's picked up a wicket in that over. England are 7 for 1, Crawley 2, Burns has 4. We've had 4 overs of England's reply to New Zealand's, in the end, strangely disappointing 378,
Yes,
and yet at the same time had a nice 10-wicket partnership.
But it's good for the game, if we could look at it that way, can't we? Because England can certainly, if they get away, it's good for batting. And New Zealand will obviously, with the new ball, they'll want to pick up some wickets here. Jameson's started that. He's an awkward bowler, there's no doubt about that to face.
Southey from the pavilion end starts his third over, and Burns defends crabbily into the ground and onto his foot. I was going to say off the front foot, it was really off sort of neither foot. It was just there. And we're going to have a change in the commentary box.
Vic has made his presence felt. He was a little bit late last time we came in, and he's followed me again.
It's like a smiling Grim Reaper, wasn't he?
Yes, and there was suddenly a presence. We felt a presence. Did you?
Oh, very much so, yes.
I did as well.
A shadowy presence.
Goodness me.
Yes.
And it's Vic.
It is. It will be Vic. Vic will be here shortly. As Southey is in, 3 slips and a gully to the left-handed Burns. He's over the wicket, and that's left alone by Burns. Not too far from his off-stump, quite full. The rest of the field I'll give you. There's a long leg. There's a mid-wicket in front of square. Going back a little bit now, actually. Is Devon Conway. Yes, he's heading all the way out to the boundary, so there's only now a sort of wide mid-on in front of square, saving one on the onside. Conway's gone about 7-8 yards inside the boundary. He's actually continuing to make his way all the way back to that boundary sponge as Southey is in to Burns, and Burns attempts to clip this away on the onside. Southey loves this as it's thudded into Burns' pad. It didn't feel right. It felt like it pitched outside the leg stump. Southey was imploring the umpire there, hands, jazz hands waving at him, but Kane Williamson is not interested, and Vic Marks has joined in, I'm delighted to say.
Well, it could have been Stuart Broad appealing, wasn't it? It was sort of waving hands, waiting for it. It pitched outside leg stump. Might just have hit leg stump. Yeah. And quite rightly not reviewed.
What do you make of Jameson? I mean, the ball to get rid of Sibley was a lovely ball. He got a bit fortunate.
Ball of the century, yeah.
Ball of the century, yeah. Well, ball of the match, perhaps, because it did fall and it just sort of kissed away rather nicely. Here is Southey in to Burns, and that's driven into the onside, fielded by tumbling mid-on, and there's no run.
Well, the replay of that LBW shouts it was a lot closer. It did pitch in line and hit in line, but it was umpire's call on impact on the leg stump, so it's very close.
It pitched in line, so it did.
It did pitch in line.
In fact, had he been given out,
would have been out.
It would have been out.
Didn't feel that out in the naked eye, but
so hang on a minute. If they'd reviewed that,
it wouldn't have been out because of umpire's call on the
of course not.
Impact.
Yeah.
On the
Sorry. Yeah.
Here comes Southey, and that's wide outside the off stump, left alone easily enough by Burns. Burns is coming off the back of very solid form for Surrey, and a number of half centuries and a century. Is it 4 half centuries and a century, 5 half centuries and a century, I think, in the county championship this season for Rory Burns?
More runs scored at the Oval, though, than most places around the country, I note.
Yeah, Grace Road as well.
Yeah.
But yes, there are. The pitches at the Oval have been pretty decent for batting this summer so far. Much, I think, to the frustration of Surrey's bowlers. We've had a couple of draws there against Leicestershire and Middlesex. Here's Southey in. That's clipped away nicely, or tucked off the hip, if you will, by Burns out to deep mid-wicket. Conway comes in off the boundary to field. And he picks up a single, moves to 5 at the end of the 5th over of England's innings. Crawley has 2, and England 8 for 1, having lost Sibley.
Well, the game is accelerating interestingly.
I didn't really see this at midday today when it was 288 for 3. It felt like this was going to be a long, hard slog for England's bowlers, and then somehow England will be both pleased and disappointed, won't they? To bowl New Zealand out for 378 was fine, but that last wicket partnership with 40-odd, when I thought Wagner played the shot of the match off Wood, the back foot punch through extra cover.
Well, he's a bit of an imposter at 11, I suppose. Normally, he probably bats above Trent Boult.
Yeah, Boult would be 11.
But they can all bat. Rather better than actually England's tail can bat now in this particular team. Jameson is looking the real deal. It's our first glimpse of Jameson against England.
I asked Jeremy about this. His length is really quite full for a very tall bowler. He's got 3 slips. He's into Burns, down the leg side, flicked away out and missed. Is this the first time he's bowled at Burns in this innings? It is. So after the single of the last ball of the over. He does have quite a full length for a tall man. You sort of think of, say, someone like Stephen Finn with his height. Natural length is a fair bit shorter. Excuse me. 3 slips gully, backward point, wide mid-off, mid-wicket, square leg, long leg. Jameson in, that's left alone as it goes across the left-handed Burns into the gloves of Watling. Yes, Andy.
You asked about Burns in the championship, 10 innings, a century and 6 other half-centuries, a total of 554 runs, average 61.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's a good solid start to the season.
It is, and he's played home and away, so they haven't all come at the Oval.
Okay. Sorry, fan.
Well, I'm just saying, often Test match pitches are a little bit like the Oval, aren't they? So it's quite a good prep in a way. Johnson into Burns, who drives elegantly through the offside and a run away through extra cover for 4. It was too full from Jameson. He's aiming for some swing, and Burns just placed his bat on it and found that large gap on the offside, and it's rolled up in front of the grandstand to the boundary sponge. It was a long half volley.
It was, but sweetly timed. He didn't have to try and hit it hard. There's pace on the ball, wide of off stump. He just got the bat in the right place and it sped up that slope through extra cover.
Yes, Burns isn't renowned for his elegance, but that was quite an elegant shot from Burns. He moves to 9, 12 for 1 England. It's Jameson from the nursery end, runs away from us, and that is again left alone. A good tumbling stop from BJ Watling in front of first slip. We've had an email from Fritz Henning. Marvellous name. Well done, Devon Conway, he says. Up here in Matlock, we recall with great fondness and no little awe of the many fine innings he played for us. One innings in particular comes to mind when we reached the finals of the County 2020, played at Alfreton's pretty ground in front of a big crowd. Devon came in after 3 overs and smashed 150 not out. A memorable innings. As Jameson is in, that's clipped away off the inside half of the bat. Not sure that was entirely where Rory Burns intended it to go. And it's gone through mid-wicket for a couple of runs. It takes him into double figures. He has 11, England 14 for 1. So yes, he's
been around.
Fondly.
Yeah. Well, he played up in Derbyshire. He's played a couple seasons down in Somerset for Taunton Dean, I think, and another season. He played for Somerset Seconds in 2013.
How did you let him slip through your fingers?
I had no idea. Well, we've got him back. We've just waited for him to mature elsewhere. He's coming back.
Was he selected on the basis his first name's Devon, just out of interest? Here it comes, Jameson. Full again, worked into the onside again. Almost identical shot from Burns. This, though, might make it to the boundary. It does, as it goes down the hill. Colin de Grandon rather shepherding it on its way. And at the end of that over, England 18 for 1. Burns has 15. Crawley has 2. More thoughts from Vic Marks. And then to replace me, it will be Simon Mann.
Well, obviously, that's another reason for him to play for Somerset, but they'll be looking forward even more to welcoming Devon Conway as a Somerset player. fully fledged, this time in the first team, I suspect, in a couple of championship games and some T20 Blast games after the World Test Championship. Jameson there, well, he's not frightened to pitch it up, but just overdid it a little bit in that over, and Burns took his toll. Crawley, he hasn't been batting. We talked about Burns getting lots of runs this summer on usually quite batsman-friendly pitches at the Oval. I'm not sure Crawley's had so many batsman-friendly pitches down at Canterbury.
Here's Southey bowling to Crawley outside the off stump. Crawley doesn't play. Taken by Watling. 18 for 1 then. Crawley 2, Burns 15 with just under 20 minutes to go until tea. Thoughts?
Crawley in the championship this season, 368 runs, averaged 33, 3 half centuries and a highest of 90.
I think he, at 90, I mean...
was out of a small total.
Yeah, in difficult conditions. I think he dominated the time he was at the crease.
Was at Headingley against Yorkshire in a low score.
Southey goes into bowl to Crawley. It's full. It's dug out back to the bowler. Southey picks up in his follow through. There's no run. Jameson and Burns have come up against each other before. Jameson got Burns out. It was in a New Zealand A match.
And you were there?
Yeah, against England in Whangarei, up in the northern part of the North Island. And
I was amazed you remembered exactly how he got out too.
I think he bowled him a long hop and he cracked it straight to backward point and sort of hung his head. Oh no, what have I done? And Jameson didn't really stand out that day. Here is Southey bowling, turned away by Crawley towards forward square leg. And there is no run. Santner with it. Santner out for naught today. One of 2 New Zealand players out for naught to Grandhome as well. LBW to Robinson. Yeah, he took 1 for 70 in that match. I mean, he looked to have all the attributes. He thought, why is he not done better or produced more threat? That's the 1 wicket in that innings.
Well, he's matured a bit since then, hasn't he?
It was 18 months ago, and he burst onto the scene with 6 very successful Test matches in his career so far. Southey bowls. A big drive from Crawley. Is he caught behind? He is.
Oh, he won't like the look of that when he goes back and watches it.
Horrible big drive outside the off stump. A waft, really, and he's nicked it through to Watling. And Southey's got his first wicket, and England in trouble here, 18 for 2. The game is really moving along today. It left him. It was full, it left him, and he nicked it. And a straightforward catch for Watling.
Yeah, well, it wasn't quite a half volley. It was wide. It was tempting, but he didn't really get into a great position. He was a long way from the ball, and he's nicked it. Straightforward catch for Watling. Soft dismissal, if we're honest. I mean, Crawley is capable of enchanting stroke play, but it was a bit early there, and that was a waft and a nick. And it's 18 for 2 on a blameless pitch. We've talked about the fact that you look down this lineup. Sibley, who's coming back from a finger injury, hasn't batted much. He's gone. Crawley's now gone. Out comes Root. So much seems to depend on Root when you look at this side that's devoid of Stokes and the fairly now experienced Butler. And you're not quite sure who's going to come up trumps. You've got great promise there after Root in Pope and Lawrence and Bracey making his debut, but no feeling of a guarantee. So it's an intriguing situation and a tricky one. So much. You just hope that in these situations that Root doesn't sort of start thinking like I'm thinking, which is, if I don't get any runs, where are they going to come from? And we felt that a bit in the winter, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because Root, certainly at the start of the winter, just batted fantastically well against the spin bowlers in Sri Lanka and initially in India. Now in very different conditions, you think so much dependent on him, too much in fact.
Yeah.
But he's out there, he's taking guards. Southey's got another Test wicket. He's over 300 now, isn't he, Tim Southey? Missing his old mate Trent Bolt.
303 wickets for Tim Southey. Around about 28.5 in his 78th Test match. Bolt's on 281 at 28 and 71. Their records are very similar. And they're similar in age as well. Bolt will be arriving tomorrow. Here's Southey bowling to Root, and Root gets the bat down just in time. Just a hint there, that ball keeping a bit low. Pushed into the offside. And Devon Conway thinking, hold on a second, he's actually scored more runs. We've had 12 wickets in the match, and he scored more runs than everybody else put together.
So far, yeah. Absolutely. The only flaw I can see with Conway, and no doubt they'll be working on this at Taunton, is it's running between the wickets, right?
Whose call was it? Was it Conway coming back to the non-striker's end? Or?
Yeah.
Southey bowls. Root gets his first run again, getting the bat down just in time there. Southey thought he got through onto the pads, but it went down towards fine leg. Jameson sent in the return, and Root is underway. And England are 19 for 2. They need 178 to avoid being asked to follow on. It is quite a thin batting lineup.
Untried anyway, unproven, I think.
Sibley's just coming back from injury as well. Lawrence is at the start of his Test career. Burns has been dropped and has been recalled. Crawley's a relative novice, and Pope's had a sort of skittish career so far.
Yeah.
Has some success and some failures. And then there's Bracey on his debut, and then Robinson on his debut, and Wood, Anderson, Broad. Where they all going to bat that lower order? Presumably Robinson 8, is it?
Yeah. Robinson 8, I would have thought. Wood 9. Broad Anderson.
Whoever feels like it.
No, it's got to be
Broad 10.
This is Broad.
Yeah.
I remember watching Broad get that 100 against Pakistan here and thinking, well, this man could bat 7 for England easily. He practically was batting 7 for England.
Here's Jameson then to bowl to Root. And Root plays a nice solid looking defensive shot to a ball of full length on middle and off. Goes away into the offside towards cover. And there is no run. So what are we, 10 minutes before tea on the second day, and 12 wickets have gone down now, and the game has sort of caught up with itself.
Yeah,
a bit,
it's got the makings. There's something especially tantalising about a game that you think probably can't be a draw.
Yeah.
And now, yesterday you thought, well, this could easily be a draw. Now you're thinking, well, it's progressed so quickly. You think also it's a good surface.
Jameson to Root. Root blocks a straight ball. This time it goes into the onside. Picked up at mid-wicket by de Grandhomme.
It hasn't got a huge amount of pace in it, but it's just got enough for most of the nicks to carry. And it looks quite inviting to bat on, but the simple fact is that 12 wickets have gone, not very often because of misbehaviour, I think, of the ball, or the ball doing a great deal.
12 wickets have gone, and 9 of them are gone today.
Yeah.
And we've still got, another session to go.
Well, a lot of overs too, 44.
Jameson bowls to Root, and Root leg glances this off his hip down towards fine leg. It's going very quickly down there, and it's gone away for 4. Is that Wagner in the deep in front of the visitors' dressing room? I think it is. It went so quickly off the bat, and Wagner was in a bit and round a bit.
Yeah, he's almost too close, isn't he?
If he'd been on the fine leg boundary, he might well have stopped that. But it's a strange boundary down there, isn't it? It's
brought in from the stand.
Yeah, in from the Warner stand. There's quite a lot of space in front of the Warner stand. It's on the boundary's on the diagonal from the visitors' dressing room up towards the grandstand. Anyway, Wagner couldn't get there. A welcome boundary for Root. He's on 5, 23 for 2. 3 slips and a gully. The tall Jameson, with orange bottoms to his boots, goes in and bowls to Root and pushes that through extra cover, probably for 2. Williamson's after it, scuttling run, picks it up, sends in the return to Watling. Men of similar stature, actually, Watling and Jameson. Watling and Williamson, I should say, not Jameson.
Watling and Jameson got very little in common in terms of stature, I'd say.
That's true. Yeah. But Williamson, on the other hand, has. So 2 to Root. He's on to 7. It's 25 for 2. Burns on 15. I could easily been out. Umpire Goff had raised the finger, and Burns had challenged it. He'd have been on his way. One of those tight ones, really. He was fortunate to get away with it. Jameson bowls outside the off stump. No stroke from Root. Wide this time from Jameson. Collected by Watling. And then the LBW shout where he left it as well, but that was going over the top. That would have been overturned on review if it had been given. Sibley out for naught. That was a superb delivery to get rid of Sibley. I mean, sometimes you get them, don't you, as a top order player. It wasn't quite like that James Vince ball that Mitchell Stark bowled to him in Perth, but there was aspects of it. It went a long way and almost missed the off stump. Sort of angled in.
Having pitched on, yes.
Yeah, it was a tremendous delivery. I mean, you just have to hold your hand up there. Jameson bowls to Root. Root gets a straight ball, which he digs out into the onside. De Grandhomme picks up in the mid-on area. There's no run. It's the end of the over from Jameson. So he's bowled 4 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 19, and he's got his hand on the microphone.
Well, another bad start for England, 18 for 2. Over the winter, the first 2 wickets averaged 25.6. They were on average 25.6 for 2 in each innings over the winter, if you can be something 0.6 for 2, which obviously you
over the whole of the winter, not just India.
Over the whole of the winter, the Sri Lanka and India series, the worst England have ever had for that average for the second wicket in any test season, home or away, with at least 3 tests, and the second worst by any team in the history of test cricket who's played 5 or more tests in a season. Root's former he made 794 runs in the winter, averaged 66 with his 3 huge innings. The rest of England's batsmen collectively averaged just 17.4.
This is Southey. Bowls to Burns and goes past the outside edge, bowls it across him. Burns pushing out, immediately comes down the pitch to do some gardening, through to Watling. 25 for 2, and there were some mitigating circumstances in the pitches which even Sunil described them as challenging. He wrote a response to you, didn't he, Victor, in the Cricketer magazine, because you'd written an article talking about the pitches and also about the commentary team as well, didn't you?
Well,
the
fact that they're employed by the cricket board, which doesn't happen here.
Southey goes in to bowl. It's full, dug out by Burns up towards mid-off. There's no run. Williamson runs round, pick up.
And I suppose I suggested that hence the criticism of the service of one of the matches was not quite as severe as it might have been. And it was quite a nice letter from Sunil in response.
He didn't write to you, he wrote to the magazine.
He wrote to the magazine, yeah. Pointing out that he says what he thinks. Come what may.
In other words,
he did it in a very elegant way too.
Southey bowls short and Burns pulls out of a pull shot. There is a man back on the deep square leg boundary as well as a fine leg.
And then I think I said something like that. I bet that Sunil never batted on a pitch quite like this in his test. And then I haven't checked it out actually.
Yeah. He came up with a couple of examples, didn't he?
One example, I think, which I'll have a look at some point. But it was a very elegant slap on the wrist for me to suggest that Sunil should not be supremely independent in his thoughts. There seemed to be a bit of a unified response to that surface in, was it the second one in Ahmedabad, the first one in, I can't remember.
Well, the second one in Chennai, here's Southey outside the off stump. There's no stroke from Burns and it goes through to Watling. I mean, the case for the Indian defence was that Rohit Sharma made a brilliant 100 and Ravichandran Ashwin made 100 in that game as well.
Was that the same game? Yeah.
Although, I mean, Ashwin, they were sort of free runs in a way. And
it was the shortest test match since 1935, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's by the by.
Yeah.
But so it was a very elegant letter from Sunil, and I look forward to seeing. We're old teammates, of course, as he referred to.
That's right. You play for Somerset together.
Yeah.
Southey bowls and Burns drives, but straight to mid-on. There's no run. Sort of shortish mid-on, actually. Sort of half mid-wicket, half mid-on. Wagner lurking on the onside. A very specific fielding position. And neither one thing nor the other in terms of sort of traditional field placings. 25 for 2. So by the looks of it, you've got to buy him a particular bottle of wine, haven't you, to apologise? I think it was the end of the letter.
He did say that, but it didn't sound like too inexpensive a bottle, so I might be able to stretch for that.
3 slips and a gully. You wouldn't want a libel suit, would you? I mean, here's Southey bowling another good delivery past the outside edge of the bat through to the keeper.
Our generation not so keen on those libel suits.
End of the over. from Southey. 5 overs, 2 maidens, 1 for 6. Probing away. And causing Burns some problems in that over. And actually, throughout his short innings so far, this could well be the last over before tea. We're coming up to 20-4. New Zealand 378. Conway 200. Run out coming back to the second at the non-striker's end.
Well, then we got the prospect still of Wagner, of course, who's got a fantastic record over the last 4 years or so, mostly bowling bounces. I mean, he starts off looking to swing the ball. He might get the odd wicket and goes about 5 and over. Then he bowls bounces, and no one's found an answer to him. It's an amazing record he's got, an amazing skill he's got. He doesn't waste any. It's partly because he's the right height. They skid. They don't go over your head very often.
There's Jameson bowling to Root. Root gets a beauty. There's a pill from 2 of the slip fielders, but nothing from the wicketkeeper, nothing from first slip or second slip. It was only the third slip and the gully that went up together there. Nothing from Jameson either. But that was another beauty from Jameson. It angled in and left Root. I mean, just almost impossible to hit, really, you'd think.
Well, Richie would have had that as a leg cutter.
It went such a long way. And Sibley got one like that as well.
Just a bit straighter, wasn't it?
He caught him LBW. Well, this is good from Jameson. That's a tremendous young prospect. Root plays that defensively back up the offside of the pitch and there's no run. I say young, I mean he's not that young in terms of, when you think of a player sort of emerging, talented young player emerging, sort of 21, 22. He's actually, was it 26?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure he's 26. So who plays, who drops out I should say, but when Bolt comes back?
Might be good, Santner or Grandon.
There's Jameson bowling outside the off stump, and Root shuffles across and allows this to go by outside the off stump. The sun disappears behind a cloud for now, but it's a very pleasant day at Lord's. It feels settled, blue sky. Just hope that rain that's around tomorrow morning doesn't linger.
No, don't let it do that. We've got the best drainage possible here. If it does rain, it's just soaked up in no time. But basically the forecast is looking pretty good.
Jameson to Root, full. Root blocks it. No more than that. Defending it back to the bowler with a full face.
I mean, when they get there, assuming they play all 4 of them, it's a fantastic variety. You've got 6'8" here. You've got 2 left armers, one of who swings the ball naturally, beautiful swing bowler, sort of Anderson-esque almost, except for the left-handed in Bolt. You've got the skidding bouncers, unique skidding bouncers really of Wagner, and then a sort of Stuart Broady Southey.
Jameson bowls. Root plays defensively again with a full face back to the bowler who picks up. Who's favourite for the World Test Championship final, do you think? Bearing in mind that New Zealand will have had 2 sort of good solid practice in 2 test matches, and India coming.
Well, I think I don't know actually. I mean, it's an intriguing prospect as a game of cricket. It's sad that it's going to be behind closed doors.
Yeah, really
it?
sad that. I don't quite understand why that's the case. Do you? Why?
Well, I suppose
don't allow a few spectators.
Ultra caution, maybe. I guess.
Jameson bowls, and that's guided away by Root, looking for the third man boundary there, but it's fielded in the slip corner. Third slip, no run.
It's obviously one team is.
That's the end of the session, Victor. Okay. 25 for 2, last ball before tea. So wicket for Jameson, wicket for Southey, Sibley out for 0, Crawley for 2. Root has 7 and Burns 15.
Just briefly on that, it's oddity. You've got one team coming from New Zealand where they barely know. Well, they do know about the existence of COVID, but they've had the most fantastic record on COVID. The other team coming from India, which is ravaged at the moment, coming to England, and sadly no spectators. I suppose if it was just you looked at the 2 teams, you'd still fancy India, I think. But maybe the preparation element will be significant. By the time the Kiwis get to Southampton, they will certainly be match fit.
Apart from Bolt, because he's not.
Apart from Bolt, but actually players don't worry about that so much nowadays.
No,
and it doesn't worry them in the least in the old. Boyks would be paranoid.
Yeah, he would.
If he hadn't had about 6 knocks prior to one Test match. But people prepare differently now. They've learnt to do that, so it may not strictly be quite so relevant.
No.
But that's down the road. This would be fantastic preparation, but in itself, this is a very good contest.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah, New Zealand 3-7-8 all out, with Robinson taking 4 for 75 and Wood 3 for 81. So they went from 288 for 3 to 3-7-8 all out, although there was a last wicket stand of 40 between Wagner, who played some of the best shots of the innings, 25 not out, and then Devon Conway run out for 200 in his first Test match. So 3-7-8 all out, and then Sibley, LBW Jameson for naught, a beauty, and then Zach Crawley, not so beautiful from the Crawley point of view, wafting it one outside the off stump, nicking it through to Watling off Southey for 2. So Root is there, Burns is there at tee. Burns survived an LBW shout, and New Zealand on top at the moment, despite an England fight back.